There's something off about modern SpongeBob. Not just the animation, but something way deeper is missing. The early seasons had weird jokes, sure, but they also had moments. Moments of stillness, of awkward silence, of real, honest character. And that noise and chaos used to mean something. We remember these episodes so vividly not because they were loud, but because they lingered. But now, we get episodes like this.
I hope you enjoy your meal.
Episodes that feel like they're written mid-sugar rush. Characters bounce around, yell louder, get tortured longer. We rarely get something emotionally touching anymore these days. And yet, we get episodes like Ink Lemonade, one of the saddest episodes of modern SpongeBob, and not in a good way. Because it's not sad in a heartfelt, touching sense, it's sad because it's heartbreaking to see what this show has become. Because what did they do to Squidward here? It just feels wrong. It makes you pause and think, man, this is just sad. But let's rewatch the episode for a bit. The episode starts simple enough. Patrick's opening a lemonade stand. Except he's not selling lemonade, he's just selling water. Warm, suspicious-looking, unflavored tap water. Not even iced. Then Squidward walks in, just taking out the trash when he stumbles into Patrick's business model. He tries to reason with them. This isn't lemonade. You need lemons to make lemonade. But Patrick, being the post-season 5 version of Patrick, genuinely doesn't know that. I'm not even surprised. So Squidward throws his rotten lemon into Patrick's face as a kind gesture, which is fair. That's still more vitamin C than any of those customers were going to get anyway. That bruise gave me an uneasy feeling. I feel like this episode is going to have lots of weird visual— What the heck is that? That was just gross. I don't know why they put that there. But you know what's even crazier? Patrick actually has the audacity to peel a used wax strip from his armpit, press it against the rotten lemon, and serve it to customers. Naturally, he's throwing up once he knows the plaster comes up from Patrick's armpit. I don't blame you, man. I want to throw up too just by seeing it. Oh, and guess where he vomits? Squidward's house. Of course, always Squidward's house. Always his floor. So Squidward storms out to confront him again, and that's when the real nightmare begins. Because SpongeBob pops out of nowhere and scares Squidward so bad that he squirts ink right into a jug. But instead of being horrified, SpongeBob tastes it and says,
That's delicious.
Excuse me? I don't know why you were willing to drink that. I know humans have been consuming Squid's ink since a long time ago, but these characters are not humans. The ink is literally your neighbor's body fluid. It's the equivalent of us drinking someone's snore. I'm not gonna say it. That's just gross. But somehow, the people of Bikini Bottom love it. They start lining up around the block for this new flavor, black lemonade. So now, Patrick and SpongeBob decide to mass produce it. But how? Squidward only squirts ink when he's scared. Which, if you know squid biology, kinda makes sense. It's their defense mechanism. But also, it sets up the real horror of the episode. First, Patrick shows his internal organs to Squidward as if it was a casual afternoon, then bringing in a massive spider, which Squidward hates. Poor Squidward had to get tortured over and over again so Patrick and SpongeBob could sell more black lemonade to people. And because it's SpongeBob, it doesn't stop there. The line isn't getting any shorter, so Patrick goes for the biggest scares. He sets up a whole haunted house attraction to traumatize Squidward for good. From a haunted tablecloth to a creepy starfish baby with a big nose, they even make Squidward confront the nightmare of his own aging. Like, come on, this isn't slapstick, this is psychological warfare. At the end, he even manages to squirt out a whole boat of ink, which is kind of impressive. But also, are we not going to talk about the physics of this? How much fluid can one squid even hold? He's not a water park, he's a cashier. Eventually, Squidward catches on to their scheme. He found out that they were both selling his body fluids as refreshment drinks, but instead of calling it gross and telling them to stop, he decided to open up his own stall, selling people black lemonade straight from the source. And in true Squidward fashion, it all goes wrong.
Make with my black lemonade!
He pushes himself too far. His body gives out, and he ends up blasting ink all over the customers. Of course, people aren't pleased with it, since now they found out that it's his body juice that they drank. They go wild, and all end up puking in Squidward's home again. Because why not? The episode ends up with Patrick and SpongeBob telling Squidward that they've stopped with selling black lemonade and are moving on to selling homemade cookies from spider eggs. And that's it. 10 minutes of body fluids, infection, internal organs, and complete public humiliation. All wrapped up in cheerful background music. But here's the thing. You might think that this is just a gross-out comedy episode, just another Squidward gets wrecked story, because if you've been watching this show long enough, you know it didn't used to be like this. So why does this episode feel so wrong? And what does it say about how far this show and Squidward have fallen? There's a moment right after Squidward blasts ink all over the crowd where poor Squidward just stands there, soaked, exhausted, and humiliated. No one helps him, not SpongeBob, not Patrick, not a single person in the crowd. They're too busy puking and complaining. That moment sticks with me because it's the kind of silence that doesn't feel funny. It feels like defeat. And this is where the sadness really hits. Because on paper, Squid Ink is just more wacky shenanigans. Patrick and SpongeBob start a business, Squidward gets dragged into it, and then chaos ensues. But in practice, it's just mean. They discover Squidward squirts ink when he's scared, so they build an entire business around exploiting that, without his consent. They don't even try to talk Squidward into joining the business. They just scare him non-stop, all so they could make a profit. That's a fate worse than industrial cows. Even the spider is giving them consent to use its eggs as a cookie. How is it you're treating the spider better than Squidward? And when he finally gives in, when he tries to join the system and make it work for him, the world shuts him down. The same people who lined up to drink his suffering are now vomiting in his house. Again. Now compare that to an older episode, like Can You Spare a Dime? That's another Squidward suffers episode, sure. Squidward loses his job because of his own antics and ends up homeless. But SpongeBob, for all his flaws, tries to help. He gives him shelter, food, even emotional support. Yes, the episode turns into a joke about Squidward's laziness, but there's still a thread of humanity there. A sense that SpongeBob cares, even when it's inconvenient. But in Squid Ink, there's none of that. And honestly, the amount of fear they put Squidward through in 10 minutes is kinda disturbing. This isn't some wacky side plot. Fear is the plot. That's what really makes this episode hit differently. Squidward doesn't just get hurt, he gets dehumanized. There's no empathy, no recognition, no moment where anyone stops and realizes they went too far. SpongeBob and Patrick end the episode smiling, casually moving on to their next gross-out business, spider egg cookies, like nothing happened. Meanwhile, Squidward is left to clean up the mess, alone, again. This episode is a perfect example of the tonal shift that's haunted this show for years. It's louder, it's meaner, and emptier than ever. You don't laugh, you just sigh and say, man, this is just sad. So maybe that's the real heartbreak here. Not that Squidward suffered, it's that no one cares anymore, not even the writers. Even the town's puke says more than the script does. It didn't have to be this way, but it did. And we're just left here watching Squidward drown in his own ink while the world around him laughs. But if you think this is the worst SpongeBob gets, you haven't seen what they buried under the surface. In our last video, we broke down the episode No One Understands, one they tried to play off as silly, absurd, even random. But once you see what's underneath, you'll realize it might be the most disturbing thing they've ever aired. Trust me, the creepiest parts are the ones hiding in plain sight.